Center with Jim Talamonte.
In Joliet this morning, eastbound I-80 traffic is tied up from before Humboldt to Chicago Street due to a crash there at Chicago Street. Inbound Kennedy Expressway, traffic is slow Ogden to the Burns Circle, 22 minutes O'Hare to downtown, outbound 20. Inbound Eisenhower, the heavy pockets are from Manheim to First Avenue and Demon to the Circle, 34 minutes, 390 to downtown, outbound 28. Inbound Stevenson, the delays are from Western to the Ryan. It's 35 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Inbound Ryan, 16 minutes, 95th to downtown. It's slow from 31st to the Burns Circle. Lakeshore Drive, northbound traffic is slow through Grant Park, Jackson to Wacker. That's traffic. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Well, Rio Golf is back on the course this morning, and if you're following the Charles Schwab, the Colonial today, Brian Harmon is your leader after 8 holes. Round 1. In Fort Worth, Texas. He's 3 under par. Sunny with winds gradually subsiding today. Pleasant this afternoon. High 82, clear and 60 overnight. 65 right now. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So yesterday, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell announced that he projected the Fed would keep the Fed funds rate, which banks loan money to each other, between 0 and 0.25%, that range, at least until 2022. The signal was that the economy will take perhaps a little bit longer to recover than some were hoping, even with the reopenings, that unemployment would round out the year at just over 9%. That's the Fed's projection. And that response, number one, that rates wouldn't rise, drew an initial positive response, but the Dow turned negative late in the day yesterday and opened today down more than 3%, down about 900 points right now. It's getting hammered. What does this all mean? Is the recovery of your 401k over? Or is it going to be a lot longer than anticipated, like perhaps the economy more generally? For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by the Capitalist Pig. He is Jonathan Hoenig, Fox News contributor, author of the new textbook of Americanism, The Politics of Ayn Rand. Jonathan, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Dan and Amy, great to be with you. Good morning.
So,
this
go
is
ahead.
Unprecedented times. So we've seen moves and announcements, Dan and Amy, that we haven't seen. And you're right, the market has sold off a little bit on news that the Fed is pretty bleak. But Dan, the Fed doesn't even know what's happening. I mean, some people in the Fed think that unemployment is going to get down to 7. Others think it's going to get to 14. And what we found is, as they say, economists, have a lot of, what is the old saying? Everyone's got a smile. It's the same, but it's just an opinion.
Yes.
So this is very tenuous times, and we really don't know which way the economy is going to go. What we do know is we've had this record run. The market's down, 500-600 points this morning, but we're coming off the best month one of the best months in history, and the best 50-day period for the market in history. So we've had some amazing volatility in just the last 3 months, but it mirrors the volatility that's happening in the streets and the economy writ large.
So do you see this as just sort of a adjustment on outlook for America's recovery, or is this something where that perhaps is more structural, where there's a real feeling like we're going to have to hunker down and endure difficult economic times for the foreseeable future, and so let me take the gains that I made back and get the hell out and save money, don't spend it?
Well, I think that's always good advice, Stan. I mean, one of the Warren Buffett has a wonderful old saying that's only when the tide goes out that you see who's been swimming naked, and
Yes.
the fact is a lot of Americans have been essentially living a little bit on the come. They've been living paycheck to paycheck. They don't have really any savings, and what happens is any hiccup in the economy comes along, and whether that hiccup is inflation or loss of a job or an unexpected expense, and they're really SOL, as they say. So I think the good news is that a lot of the markets have recovered, and those who've been able to maintain that long-term perspective. And Dan, that's why for in effect, at the very beginning would be paying down your credit card debt. It gives you the ability to withstand these whipsaws in the market that always come and go, that are inevitable in any long-term investment horizon. So it's a good opportunity, as you said, to get back to some of that old, I don't know if we're in a depression, but we're certainly in a recession. And maybe it's a good time to adopt some of that depression-era mentality of living beneath your means. That's advice that's going to serve you no matter what happens with the Dow.
And Jonathan, there was one economist who said it'll take maybe 10 years to recover. Do you think
the CBO said that?
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think is that just was he having a bad day, or do you really think it would take a decade?
CBO's an
10
office.
years.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what the point I was trying to make before, right? Opinions are kind of like smiles. Everyone's got one, so some are a little more dour. What I think is what's impressed me is the ingenuity and the dynamism of the American economy. So yes, some businesses are probably going to suffer. We might see a trend in commercial real estate, for example, toward more people working from home, and that's a trend that's likely to continue. But there's also huge opportunity. This time last year, no one was talking about or investing in Zoom, for example, or look at the advances that Amazon has been able to continue to make despite a lot of political opposition in terms of its logistics and capabilities. They're expanding their air force over at Amazon, even as others are pulling back. So there's no question, Amy, the economy is going to change, but I really feel like as long as we're free, as long as companies can innovate, can adapt, bring new technology to the people, I wouldn't bet against this country.
As a Chicagoan yourself, I want to get your remarks on Mayor Lightfoot suggesting that the $700 million budget deficit that the city's facing means that she's not going to be able to rule out a property tax increase. And, oh, by the way, summer's canceled in Chicago.
Well, I wouldn't want to be Mayor Lightfoot right now, I have to say. I think, unfortunately, she has a real difficult task. But it stems from poor financial management, Dan, that, as you know, has been going on in this state and certainly in this city for decades now. And the thing is with debt is that ultimately the piper has to get paid. One way or the other, it gets paid. And you're already starting to see it with more and more. And, of course, the coronavirus is the perfect excuse. More and more people, more and more productive individuals leaving the city. They simply can't afford it anymore. So, every American has had to tighten his or her belt throughout this process. And my hope is that our elected officials can do the same when it comes to their prolific spending.
Is there anything else she could do besides raise property taxes, if you think about it? There's zero revenue coming in. And then canceling all the festivals, that's going to affect the restaurants and the hotels and then the conventions that aren't coming. There's no money.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunately, and I'm speaking a little bit out of my area of expertise here, but it's unfortunate that kind of draconian bans on festivals, and gatherings and business in effect, is going to continue. The whole point, as I understood it, was to try to flatten the curve so that emergency rooms wouldn't be overrun. But now we're months and months later, and I always vote for freedom. Letting what we've seen is business after business come up with innovative ways to be able to serve their customers. No business wants to get their customers sick or purposely. So finding ways to navigate this. But when governments come in, when the mayor comes in and says, no, it's all off, that complete business is shut down, and a lot of lives are ruined in the process. So it's very difficult for us regionally, but I hope we can get on the stronger track here and recover and find form.
I wanted to get your reaction to something that Robert Refkin said earlier in the week on CNBC. Refkin, as you know, but some of our listeners may not, is the CEO of Compass, a very successful real estate brokerage. He's a very successful and youngish, at least to me, he's young. He's 40, I think. Entrepreneur, and he's black, and he was on the show to talk about what he's doing to try to incentivize more engagement with black professionals to try and, frankly, produce more black entrepreneurs, because he concedes the point there aren't enough. And he said this about two of the keys that he's zeroing in upon.
And look, there aren't enough black entrepreneurs in the country, and we need more of them, and we also need more investors investing in black entrepreneurs. But for me, when I look at the most successful black people in corporate America, I see two commonalities. One, they had access to great education, and 2, they had sponsors, not just mentors, sponsors, people that use their own political and social capital to help somebody else succeed. I've had over 20 sponsors in my life, and without any one of them, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And that's why I founded a charter school in the Bronx for education and a nonprofit called America Needs You, which helps students who are first in their families to go to college and below the poverty line, giving them career development, college support, and 2 summer internships.
Now, I don't agree with everything that Revkin proposes in that interview, but I wanted to focus on those 2 things because those are the 2 keys, and I agree with what he said there. And I also wanted to raise the prospect that you're talking about we need investors, more black entrepreneurs, and he's essentially saying, I didn't build Compass, but here's how you do it in a free market setting is by getting the education and developing the skills and connecting with mentors that help you along the way. That's how the entrepreneur, that's how the free marketeer addresses the you didn't build that. I know I didn't build that alone, but I worked throughout collaborating with other people, other professionals and voluntary associations to build Compass, for example. And to me, that's just such a perfect response to the you didn't build that, government helped you build that attitude of the left.
He's Dan, it's a great clip, and he's a tremendously successful and inspirational story. Young, as you said, a young black, very successful entrepreneur, and Chicago has borne a number of them over the years. At the same time, and the kind of the scope of the conflict of all that you're alluding to is, books and books are going to be written about it and continue to be written about it. I'll just share my own experience was, 10, 15 years ago, you might remember Walmart wanted to come and open up stores on the South Side. And the city council, remember what they did? They fought to keep them out.
Yep.
They didn't want that investment. Now, they didn't call it black investment. It was just a company coming wanting to. Now, I worked at Starbucks as a kid, Dan. I'm sure you guys had jobs like that. And I don't know if that's what necessarily made me become an entrepreneur, but it certainly instilled some great lessons on me and, earning minimum wage and cleaning up the floors and mopping, et cetera. So, we see time and time again business wanting to engage young, all types of people at risk of color, of every color. But again and again, things like minimum wage or city councils trying to keep business out, they make that process more difficult. And it's sad because, a lot of those young people probably who are out there looting and rioting of all colors maybe wouldn't have been done it had they had a job when they were 17 or 18, learning some responsibility and business.
Jonathan, can you still make a Frappuccino? Or
when I worked there, they didn't even have Frappuccinos. I was there in the 90s. This was the most fancy thing at Starbucks at the time was a mocha. So these young people now, I think, have much better skills even at Starbucks. And so we're hoping to see big companies, companies big and small, continue to hire people, give them that first chance, and to start them on a road to success.
He is the Capitalist Pig, Jonathan Hoenig, founding member of the Capitalist Pig Hedge Fund, and Fox News contributor, and the book, a new textbook of Americanism, The Politics of Ayn Rand. Jonathan, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Have a terrific morning, guys. Thank you both.
And he's a barista, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Cast of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560the